Hey kitties, what up, what up? Welcome to Primal Scream. This is your host, Nick Graystone. For the next hour, we're going to talk about fantasy, reality, and everything in between. Let's go.
Hello, children, kitties, everyone out there. Yes, you don't have to adjust your TV, your mobile device, or anything else that you're watching me on right now. It is Nick Graystone. That's right. I am back. And this is Primal Scream. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I've gone live on Primal Scream. But with everything comes a story, and there's a good reason. Back in December, your boy was going at it hard, you know. I feel like I was on autopilot for a very, very, very long time. And it reached a point where I had to take a little step back, take a breather, and get myself all right, and realize that it's okay not to be okay. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's very true. And for those of you that know me and know me personally, I'm as transparent as they come. You know, I try to tell you like what I'm feeling. Sometimes it's too much, and when I reached this point where I was letting little things get the best of me, and I had all this anxiety, and I had to go get myself checked out. So I did that, and I took a little step back, not without a great support system behind me. You know, my peeps that I can always depend on were there, and I want to thank them for doing that. I'd also like to thank Tony, because Tony, my co-producer over here, he reached out to me. I left him hanging one night, and I do apologize about that. And I wanted to go on air and just tell him about that I do feel that I do owe him that apology for not being there when I was supposed to be. And, sorry about that, Tony. I really am, man. I'm glad that governors and you and the people that care about this show reached out, because it made me feel like I was wanted, and that was cool. So enough of the sensitive bullshit. Let's get back to work. There's so much to talk about. You know, I've been gone for 7 months, but in that 7 months, lots of things have happened. You know, obviously life goes on and everything, and the band was still firing on all cylinders. I'll get into a cool little thing that we did in that time frame. We have a new single coming out next week, which is awesome. I'm still doing my Nizza solo stuff, which is still taking off. The Forest Hills, finally, there is light at the end of the tunnel. That is actually coming out in sometime in October. Sweetmeats right now is in the final stages of sound, and that looks like it's being released in October too. So it's going to be a fun fall weekend and fun fall season for everyone that I guess are fans of the shit that I do. Someone that's not going to have a fun fall, I feel, it's actually a very rapid fall right now, is alleged serial killer Rex Heuermann. Today, Rex, if you live under a rock and you haven't heard the news yet, but he's already been charged with 4 murders, and that's the original Gilgo 4. Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, Melissa Bartholomew, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Today, Ray Tierney had a press conference out east, and Rex was back in court, and they linked him to 2 more murders. You see the cover of Newsday today. Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla were 2 victims. Jessica Taylor, she was found in Manorville back in 2003. Well, part of her torso was. And then about 8 months later, they found her hands, her forearms, and her skull about a quarter of a mile from the original Gilgo 4. Sandra Castilla, she was found in 1993 in North Sea. John Bitroff, who is already serving time right now, has always been the main suspect. But now, because of DNA, they were able to exclude Bitroff as a suspect, and they found hair linking to Rex and to a woman who still remained unidentified that lived in the Huerman home back in 1992, 93. Maybe it's his first wife. We don't know. He was married back in 1990, and that marriage only lasted a short period. But they found hair linking to his, and there's like a 99.96% that it's him in both cases. They found hair with Jessica Taylor as well under a tarp where her torso was found. So they have all that. But then they were talking about other stuff that they had found at the press conference. And they found these pornographic images accessed by Huerman notably and largely coincide with how the remains of Taylor and Castillo were found, according to the court documents. So what I'm leading to believe is these images were taken by Rex, and it's possibly the images of what he did. So they found these images on I believe a card, a SIM card for a phone or some type of tablet or something linking back to him. So we'll find out what exactly that means. Again, I'm only the armchair detective. I don't know exactly all the technical terms and all that other stuff, but I'm only reading this stuff and coming to assumptions on exactly what it all means. They released a 36-page document of his bail, like the charges that he was up against. So there's so much in it that I haven't even gotten through it all. And I was just reading some stuff. Supposedly, there was a hard drive that they recovered in the basement of his house that had this Microsoft Word document, and it was titled HK 2002-04, which it seems that it's a planning document, and the document was separated into 4 sections: problems, supplies, DS, and TRG. So problems seems to be a guide to avoid apprehension, and it includes points like DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints, witnesses, photos, police stop, and plastic bags matched. So he's making a list, basically a blueprint, on how he's going to do the crime and is ultimately try to get away with it. So he has one section, like I said, that was the problems that he would come across. He has another one that says supplies, which appear to be items that he needs to carry out serial murder. So this section includes bullet points on booties, acid, rope cord, saw, cutting tools, burn cans, tarps, and bags and tape. DS has been deciphered to mean dub site, and according to court documents, the discovery of Jessica Taylor and another potential victim, Valerie Mack, were at two different dump sites. So now that I'm saying Valerie Mack is still not tied to anybody. She was also found in Manorville, but now they're saying that Rex is a suspect with her murder. Now, what I'm going to say is that if they're already saying that he's a suspect, they probably have something that's going to link him to this. So this is only the beginning, I feel. Now that if they're busting out this stuff and they're saying that they're coming up with Word documents and they're finding pictures and, they went back into the house, there's no way that they're going to compromise a crime scene that was already basically closed. Go back in there and take stuff out because, if you had any type of attorney, worth their salt, they're going to say that they are going back into a compromised crime scene and they could have tampered evidence and this shit can get thrown right out. So unless this is like bulletproof and 100% like incriminating towards Rex, I don't think they would waste their time because really Suffolk County Police, they need beyond a home run. They need a fucking grand slam with this. And I think that they're doing a great job as far as going step by step, and they have to be as transparent with everybody through each step. And I feel like it's only the beginning. I feel like they're going to tie this guy to so many more different crimes. And the third part to this that they found in this planning document is a category. There's like 3 different categories, and it's pre-prep, prep, and post-event. So he's writing everything that he would do, basically, if he was to kill, carry it out, dump the body, and ultimately cover up his tracks. So that's really, it's really incriminating. Like I don't even know what else really, other than with the DNA that they have on him already. To me, this already seems like a victory. I mean, they have him tied to 6 victims. I know there's another, from the Gilgo site, I believe there's another 7 that are not tied to anybody right now. And I feel like they want to connect him to all these. But now that this one girl, Castillo, was found in the North Sea, this opens up different areas. It also opens up different cases that he could have been. It seems that his MO was he was doing all this stuff when his family was away. So now they have to look at when the family was away or if when he was away, he could have been doing stuff in different states. So, remember, they found that avalanche of his that was spotted in different areas during these crimes. They found that in South Carolina, So it's something, It's shaping up to be a very huge case. I said that from day one. And that's why, when this broke, that's how this whole podcast even really got off the ground, was because once this broke, I felt like I had to get out there and, I wanted to be not part of it, but I wanted to see it unfold because, true crime is like a passion of mine that I follow. I follow these cases. I'm not in some dark room getting myself off on these crimes and everything. I look at, the story. Rex Human looked like a normal guy from the outside. He looked like your next door neighbor. He looked like he blended in, and then all of a sudden, they show up and they're saying that this guy's responsible for all these murders, that's usually how it starts. And now this case was cold for so long, and now all of a sudden all these, news is coming out and everything. So, again, it's the beginning, and we'll see what happens. And it's an unbelievable day for this case, And I don't know what's going to happen now as far as them going forward with the next step. They said that the original Gilgo 4 part of it is done. They're going to continue looking into the other possible cases. I'm sure now that they're saying that he's a suspect with Valerie Mack, I'm sure they're going to look into that. Now, getting into this with Sandra Castilla and what I said before about Bittroff. Bittroff was convicted of 2 murders back in... my dates are all messed up because this whole day I've been looking at different things. He was convicted of 2 murders for 2 women that they found in Manorville. Now, let's just say an innocent man is behind bars because Bittroff from day one has said he's innocent. Could it be possible that Rex is the one that did these murders and now there's an innocent man behind bars? We're going to find that out. Maybe they'll reopen up his case because, Bittroff has been trying to get an appeal with this. Up until now, he's been denied, but maybe now they'll look into it and see if Rex is the one, John Ray was on the scene today, and I wasn't there. So I don't know exactly as to everything that was said. And again, I'm only saying what I've read, and there's actually going to be a part 2 to my podcast thing tonight. After my show, I'm going to be on a special guest on my True Crime Obsession that's coming on up after me, and we're going to be talking in great detail about this case. So Christine, who runs that, she was there today. She took some pictures. She has a bunch of different points that she wants to bring up, so I really want to get into the case and talk to her about that as well. So I just wanted to basically give you the little the cliff notes that I came across, which was a lot still, but there's still more that can be discussed about this, and that's why I don't want to, talk about the case the whole time for my for the show tonight. So yeah, it's a crazy day. I'm sure there's so many questions that are not answered. Where is his family during all this? I know they said that they were away, but this guy, they're saying that there's a possibility that he kept people hostage inside his home. How can you hide that? There's only so much you could really hide from somebody. I mean, if you're leading a double life, and it's not just one person. You had 3 adults living in this house with him at the time, well, not adults too. His kids were young at that point when this all started, but there's so many head scratchers about this. So yeah, we'll see what happens, and like I've been doing my updates and everything, and I'll keep you guys updated as far as hearing stuff and what I come across. And like I said, I was telling Tony when I came back last night, I started getting the itch again to come back and talk, because I went back down to the house and I got interviewed by News 12, and then I went there for a couple of days back to the house, and they had the whole street closed off, and it was like deja vu, and it was just like a whole new resurgence on what was going on. So yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be back and everything. Do you have anything to add, Tony, about this whole thing? And we were talking a little bit before about it. I know what you were saying about him keeping people possibly in the basement, like how he could have done that.
Yeah, that's suppose that's one of the questions now. They think that some people may not have been killed right away, and that just that's I don't know. That's I think a lot of people's worst fear, man, is just being tortured, kind of like being buried alive or something. Just going through that constant torture 24/7. But then I think it's just natural to wonder what, how does other people in the house not know that this is going on, that there's somebody in their house? I don't know. There's so many questions.
Right.
So many questions.
Like, I feel like the whole thing with living with, like, a narcissist, there's a possibility, very limited possibility, but let's just say from what it comes across as, that Rex is an extreme narcissist, which you can see, like, the video that he posted about him talking and stuff. He kind of looked like a dick. I don't know the guy personally, but that's kind of like he was full of himself or whatever.
I met him once, and he was not exactly a friendly person.
Okay. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that he was a narcissist to the 10th power. And he did all this stuff. When you're living with a narcissist and they're doing their own thing and they're in their own world and they're entertaining themselves rather than trying to be the center of attention that they're trying to get, I feel like sometimes stuff can go unnoticed. Like, all right, great. Rex ain't home. Fuck it. I don't care. He's out of my hair,
Right.
He's busting someone else's balls, or he's breaking someone else's neck and burying them in the fucking brush or whatever the fuck he's doing. So there's a possibility that could have went on, I just it sucks that this family has to go through it too, because I feel like, they're victims too as well. I mean,
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
It's shitty. It's a real shitty thing for everyone. Now, he, again, today when these charges were brought, they're saying that he showed no remorse in the courtroom and that he also pled not guilty to this. Now, there's only two reasons why he's doing this, I feel. It's either he's waiting for it to all unfold so that he can let it go through the court system and he can show exactly what type of monster he is because he wants to
Absolutely.
be that notorious.
Yes.
Or he's seen how much he can get away with and then been like, oh, well, you didn't catch this. And now he's cooperating and maybe spark a deal. But from day one, they're already saying, like Ray Tierney's saying, that there's no deals involved. Because, I mean, New York doesn't have the death penalty, but maybe some of these other states do. That if he's crossing state lines and then the FBI gets involved and stuff, they could bring him up on federal charges.
Yeah, but you really struck a chord a few minutes ago when you said, the fact that they're going back in when, the defense can have a field day with the fact that all this time, there was time in between the two times they did a search.
Yeah.
That's a little concerning.
Well, court cases get thrown out. Look at fucking OJ. That happened
exactly.
in one night.
Right.
Now you're talking about fucking 8 months?
Right.
8 months of people living inside that house. 8 months of cross-contamination. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, we have to take these panels off that. It's still been in the house. God knows what could have went on in that, you know?
Right.
They could have been like, you know what? We need something. Maybe we could go in there. Here, you got a piece of hair? Let's throw it down here. Oh, my God, look what we found,
And I think I'll even throw out the fact that what's his lawyer's name? Brown? Michael Brown? If he's probably watching right now, and if he didn't think of that already, he just did. So so he's got you to thank.
Oh, wow. You're welcome, Rex. Shit.
So now, if
now I'm a suspect.
If anybody's glad you're back, it's Rex.
Oh, fuck, man. I should have kept my mouth shut. My father was always right, man. He always told me, when are you going to learn to keep that fucking mouth shut? Never, Daddy. I'm never going to do it.
Good to have you back, man. It's good to see you. And,
thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
This is fun.
Absolutely. So, all right, to change the subject, like I said, Christine's going to come in here in a little bit. We're going to do my true crime obsession, and then we're going to get really into the case because she's got a bunch of stuff that she went through today and got some cool pictures and stuff, and see what she has to say about it. So, like I said, in the time that I was off, the Scar, Demon Scar, we've been in the studio, we've been recording and everything, and we had one hell of a show on St. Patrick's Day. We were invited to take part in Hatebreed's anniversary show in Wallingford, Connecticut. Now, it was amazing time. They rolled out the carpet for us, treated us so kind and everything. It was a great show. It was Hatebreed, Shadows Fall, Shadow of Intent, 100 Demons, Dead by Wednesday, Eyes of the Living, and us. We kicked off the day, and it was something, like there was all different types of awesome press that we got. And Sworn Enemy. I left them out. Sorry, Sworn Enemy. We got so much good press, like Death Moth Press and All Music Magazine. Holly Roy took some awesome pictures. Mia P took some awesome pictures. Daniel Jackson from My Amp Music wrote this awesome article about us. And I'm just going to quote something that was said. Demon Scar from Long Island. They wasted no time brutalizing the crowd in the Dome with chugging riffs and We Are Here in Your Face, taste of aggression. The show was expected to be one for the books from the flyer alone, but to have a lineup with bands like this opening up and setting the bar for the night really locks in the mindset and excitement level for all those that came to throw down. And it really was. I mean, like, the sound system was awesome. It was in one of these old school, like, theaters, and Hatebreed, Shadows Fall, Shadow of Intent, and 100 Demons, they all played inside the Dome. Like, we played, there was a second stage set up on the outside part in the lobby, and it was weird. We had set up, we did like a sound check, and we had about 10 minutes before we came on, and someone came in the back, and they're like, dude, there's already like a line down the block, and it's packed. And we were kicking it off. It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We felt like, you know what? Maybe there'll be like, 50, 60 people. We fucking open up the curtain. There's already like 500 or 600 people inside the building already, and we're like, holy shit. And they were ready to go. And it was just a great turnout. As you could see, these pictures that they took were pretty amazing. And I just want to thank Jamie Josta. Like, Jamie Josta is a true professional. Like, he puts on an amazing show. He does not forget where he came from. He has a band that started just like I feel like how Demon Scar started, like, with like word of mouth, getting their name out there, and that self-promotion that they did to a level now that they're like one of the best hardcore bands to ever do it, And now he's even doing like a solo thing right now. So I actually want to play a song off of his new album, And Josta for All. It's called Suicidality, and it's with Phil Demmel from Machine Head. So I have a video that I'm going to show, and we'll talk about it when we get back.
Let's fucking go! Encrypted messages spreading a virus of thought. Imprisoned mentally, infecting the distress. me teach. I reject their suicidality. Suicidality. Chemical control, medical atrocity. Suicidality. Weaponized thought for culling humanity. Hidden messages of suicidal ideation, turning all the masses into slaves of medication. Sacrificed in the name of chemical deities. Decades of profit off mental poisonings. Reject the suicidality.
All right, that was Suicidality from Josta's new album, Josta for All. You watching that? I'm watching that video, and it's pretty cool. Like, they filmed that at the rave where they had the Milwaukee Metal Fest, and it's cool. There's a part where he's in the pool. Basically, everyone goes down there. There's all these signatures inside this place. Such a cool vintage club inside Milwaukee and everything, and that just watching that video brought back memories because I feel like they shot that video. During that weekend of Milwaukee Metal Fest from last year. So again, it's a cool vibe that Joss is doing for his solo stuff. I totally dig it. It's got more thrash elements to it. And I'm looking forward to checking that out live. I love seeing Hatebreed throw down, but when Joss is on stage, it really doesn't matter what he's playing. He brings it always 100%. And you got a fan for life out of Demon Scar. And again, thank you. Also, thanks to Opus from Dead by Wednesday. He's the one that set us up with this show for the 30th anniversary of Hatebreed at the in Wallingford. So just looking forward to tearing it up with those guys again pretty soon. All right, I have some plugging to do, and then we're gonna put this episode to bed because I feel like I did everything that I set out to do today, and I'm proud of myself. I came back; it was nice and smooth. I didn't have as much ring rust as I thought I would have. I feel like I could talk all night, but I won't do that. I will spare you kids that. So on the horizon, like I said, Demon Scar has a new single out next week, next Tuesday. June 11th, Moral Design. That's our new single that's going to be out. I can't wait for that. It's also, I feel like each song that we release now, it's heading in the right direction. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. Doing that, now it's like a triple vocal attack. And it's just pretty awesome. So, we're dropping that next week. On June 22nd, I am doing a show at Bar Frida. That's in Queens. I'm going to be doing that with Fury and Trey and Dr. Giggles and Lex the Hexmaster, Jake Palumbo, and Jay Cruz. That's in Queens. It's going to be an early show, so make sure you come and check that out. Again, the Nizza solo stuff is way different from the Demon Scar. I do. It's more of an alternative hip hop kind of thing, and it's cool. I enjoy myself on these shows and everything, and I've played a few shows already with Fury. He's a good cat. And he was gracious enough to put me on this. And also, coming up, he also put me on another show, which is the weekend of August 30th to the 1st at the Jewel Music Center. It's Lethal Weekend. And that is a stacked lineup. It's basically 3 nights, Cottonmouth Kings and First Jason are going to be on Friday. Ron Killings, who's also known as R-Truth from WWE, he also does hip-hop. He's going to be doing a set on Saturday night. And then the third day, that's where I'm going to be on. I'm going to be with Lex the Hex again, with Fury and Tricks Don't Do It. It's going to be an awesome weekend, and that's going to be in Manchester, New Hampshire at the Jewel Music venue. Tickets are on sale right now. You can get a pass for all 3 days for $90 or the single-day pass for $35. And it's cool. It's different vibes. Like the first night looks like it's more of like a hard bands and stuff are going to be playing. And then, it falls back into the hip-hop for the days 2 and 3. So it's a little for something for everyone. And that's going to be, again, the weekend of August 30th and September 1st. Now, somebody else I want to give a shout out to that did reach out to me when I was in hiatus, and that's Mr. Steve Beery. Papa, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. It goes way beyond, like, our friendship goes way beyond just me coming to your place and having a good time and playing with the bands and stuff. You've always been a supporter of mine, and in turn, I've always will be a supporter of yours. You've always been my sponsor in here, and you continue to do so, and I really do appreciate that. Go check out Mr. Beery's. It's like the CBGB's of Long Island. There's always something going on. Now they're having Monday night, Monday Okie. I went and did it. It was awesome. Kevin Mundy bartends, and a lot of people go down there and do their thing with the vocals and singing some fun songs and stuff. I believe this month, every Wednesday, Let It Bleed, the Rolling Stones tribute's going to be there. Those guys are always fun, and it beats paying $400 to see the real thing. You can go to Mr. Beery's, pay the cover of $10 to get in and have a good time, and you're right up close, and they sound really good. This weekend, they do have a couple of shows going on. Actually, tonight also, they're doing open mic, which is the best open mic night going on right now. Murphy's Music is sponsoring it. They help with the backline and all that stuff and all the sound. So it's pretty cool. So on Friday, the 7th, Bitters and Distractions, Gone Stereo, Fat Heaven, and Will Romeo are playing. And then on Saturday, our friends Bad Mary, they are headlining a show. They always up the bar every time they play. It's just, Bad Mary's just like one of those bands that make you want to play better. Like when you have a gig with them, I love having gigs with them because like their energy and their enthusiasm shines on stage, and they're cool off stage too. And it's always good to have those types of people around you. It's just like playing with my friends like Steven the Not Steves and Sharp Violet. I always have a great time with them. So that does it for now. This has been Primal Scream, and I appreciate everyone, again, reaching out to me. And I see Christine standing at the door right now. She's ready to get in here and do her true crime obsession, which is my true crime obsession because we talk and we share little things. But again, everyone, I'm Nick Graystone and you're not, and I will see you next time. Later.
Thank you for listening to Primal Scream. I'm Nick Graystone, a.k.a. The Nizza. Each week, Primal Scream is produced by Tony Walker and executive produced by Demon Scar. Always remember, nobody writes your story but you. Later. Thank you for listening to
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of My True Crime Obsession. Thank you all for following. Thank you for your support. And I felt it was necessary to get into the studio tonight because for those of you following the Long Island serial killer case, the Rex Heuermann case, Gilgo Beach, you know that today was a pretty big day in the courtroom. Rex Heuermann was brought back into court today, and there was a bail hearing here. I have it in front of me, bail application that gives you all this information. But long story short, Rex Heuermann was charged with 2 more murders in relation to the Gilgo Beach, Long Island serial killer case. Today I was in court. I was at the Riverhead County Courthouse this morning. It started around 9:30. I was there, and I was in court with Rex Heuermann. And pretty scary, especially the stuff that was discussed today. But he was charged with the murder of Jessica Taylor and also the murder of Sandra Castilla. So it's pretty gruesome, the stuff that came out in court today. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. But before I do, I'd like to introduce you to my friend here, Nick. Okay? Yes, and Nick has been a frequent guest on my show. And Nick has his own podcast. Do you want to plug anything while you're here? Or?
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's
Yes.
the Primal Scream podcast. Thanks for having me back
Yes.
We actually met the first time at the original thing back in July when they brought charges.
Yeah, he was arrested on July 13th, 2023 last year, and July 14th they drove over to Massapequa Park first thing in the morning. I was like, I got to get to Rex Human's house. It was like almost like a Jimmy Buffett pre-concert party.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was like there were so many people out there with beach chairs and like right behind the crime scene tape. You would think that people would be somber, but it was almost like people were just soaking it all in. But I was fortunate enough to meet you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I know that you were interviewed by Kristen Thorne of
Yes.
ABC News, and that was great. Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah,
and,
it was cool.
Yeah, and so began our friendship and kinship with true crime.
Right.
So,
I was saying that before, like how
Yes.
this case really was the catapult for me to get into doing a podcast.
Me
I know
too.
you stick to the true crime aspect of it. My podcast really goes into it a little bit. Doesn't
Yes.
really do focus, but
Yeah. But you were most recently, I know that they were back, Suffolk County District Attorney and his team of investigators were back at Massapequa Park in front of Rex Human's home because they had another affidavit, another search warrant to go in and search for more evidence, which leads to today's arrests. And I believe that there was crime scene, not only crime scene investigators, but there was a medical team on hand, medical forensic specialists. So they knew they were looking for something specific related to bodily evidence related to the victims. So yeah.
So how do you feel about them going back into a crime scene that's been closed for so long and lived in again?
Oh, you mean going back to Rex's house?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's been closed for so long. I mean, this is an active investigation, and as Ray Tierney has said before, they are continuing to investigate this case. Yes, they have him tied to the Gilgo Beach Four. Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Megan Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew. And, obviously they found the evidence for that, but there was so much that they found, and I'm going to get into that tonight, that it was necessary for them to go back.
Yeah.
It was necessary for them to go back and look at the evidence that they had. There was so much evidence, I don't even know that they've been able to get through it all. I mean, if we look at just the digital evidence alone that was in today's bail application,
That's insane what they
oh
found.
my God, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to get into detail in that tonight. But, it's going to take a while to go through all of that. And then they have to cross-reference. They have to look at, there was a manifesto that came out today in court. They're going to look at that manifesto and go through it piece by piece. They're going to look at it with a fine-tooth comb and really cross-reference it with information they have about the victims and possible other victims that could be tied to him. So
After seeing that
Yeah.
manifesto today, and I really didn't look at it in great detail.
Oh, I'll go into it in great
Yeah.
detail, believe me. Yeah.
But that just doesn't it open up the possibilities that this is something more than we could have possibly even imagined.
I said it a year ago when he got arrested. When it came out that he's been in other states, he has property and real estate in other states, Las Vegas, Massachusetts, I believe Rhode Island, South Carolina, and that he's traveled to these other states and spent time there. I said, this is going to go way beyond New York State. This is going to go way beyond just Gilgo Beach, that there are going to be, and other connections, and I still believe that. I think, like I said, last year I said, here we are last year. Watch where we are a year from now. And it hasn't even been a year from now. And we've got him tied to the Gilgo Beach 4 and now 2 more murders. And I hate to say this, and I think there's going to be more to come.
Of course.
And it's sad, to think that the scope of his killing is probably going to be so broad. I think he will go down in the annals of, crime history as being one of the most prolific serial killers of, this century, or at least, the last 50 years. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it goes beyond Gilgo now.
Oh, it absolutely goes beyond Gilgo. I mean, this today proves that it goes beyond Gilgo. And I really want to get into the details of it. And, there is a call-in number, so if we can take calls. The number is 516-465-3990. 516-465-3990. So please call in with your questions. But let's get into the details about the victims. So there were, today I sat in court, and the first thing they said were there were 13 separate disclosures that people made with regards to eyewitness accounts. So for the 2 additional charges of Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla. So Jessica Taylor was found, her remains were found by a witness on July 21st, 2003, and this was west of Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. And somebody was walking their dog, and they noticed that there was a large, dark pickup truck that backed into the woods by Halsey Manor Road, and they called the police. And when the police came, it turned out that they did find remains there. And they turned out to be the remains of Jessica Taylor. And there were 25 postmortem injuries. There were hairs recovered from her body. Actually, there was 1 hair recovered. I think the hairs that they tied Rex Human to in today's bail application, there were 3 hairs. 1 hair from Jessica Taylor, 2 from Sandra. And the testing on the hairs the testing of the hair that was found on Jessica Taylor was tied to Rex Human. Now, why it took so long is because way back then in 2003, the DNA testing was not up to what it is today, the scientific testing. Now the scientific testing is very precise, and in the Suffolk County Crime Lab, they did testing, but Rex Human wasn't identified in 2003. Flash forward 2023, now they have him as a suspect. Now they retested those hairs, and they brought it to different laboratories, 2 different laboratories, forensic laboratories, and they both came back that they were tied to Rex Human, that it actually...
What's that percentage? It's like insane,
yes.
right?
Yeah, so it's here in the affidavit, and it basically eliminates 99.96% of people in North America. Meaning that, when you look at that and you think about the percentage of people that were eliminated, it can only be tied pretty much to Rex Human.
So it's like 0.04?
Exactly, yeah. That it might actually be somebody other than Rex Human.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah. And, so that was pretty interesting. And it also came out that when he killed Jessica Taylor, I say when, obviously it's if, but at this point, let's be honest with each other, it really looks like he murdered her with all the evidence that they have on him. So I'm just going to go with the assumption that he did. But yes, he'll get his day in court. And like any other citizen, he is innocent until proven guilty. But he did, so the family was out of town when Jessica Taylor went missing.
Conveniently.
Yes. And... So basically, I'm just taking a look here. Let me just get this. So the family was in Jeffersonville in Vermont, and they were at a resort. Let me just see. I have the name here of that resort. Yes, they were at a resort in Vermont at the time. And so the hair was tested, and it was tied to her, tied to Rex Human. So on July 28, 2023, Rex Human accesses a Newsday article titled "Cops Seek Help in IDing Manorville Body" regarding Jessica Taylor's remains.
So what is that, like 2 days afterwards?
Yes, about 2 days after so he was avidly following the newspapers and following this case. And, at the next day, on July 29th, 2003, Rex Human conducts an internet search for a new Chevy Avalanche. And actually, we had a picture of it, a blue Avalanche. I don't think he ever acquired it, but at that time, he's starting to think, oh my goodness, they're on to me, because they identified the truck that backed into the woods where her remains were found. So at that point...
Was he driving the green one at that point?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, he was driving the green one. And he actually bought the green one in March of 2022. In March of 2002. And Jessica Taylor went missing in July of 2003.
So it's about a year.
Yeah, about a year, maybe. I think he bought it. He maybe had it 6 months before he used it, And I have a timeline here. So on July 21st, 2003, at 8:41 p.m., Jessica Taylor speaks to her mother. They spoke for about 7 minutes. She was scheduled, Jessica, to go up to Poughkeepsie, where her mother lived, to visit her on her birthday. Her mother's birthday was on July 25th of that year, obviously every year, but her mother's birthday was coming up on July 25th. She was scheduled to go to Poughkeepsie to visit her mom, and she just never showed up. So
Was that like out of character for her?
Yes, yeah. So her mom wound up calling the police that day, July 25th, and reported her daughter missing. But on that same day, going back to July 21st, last time she spoke with her mom at 8:41 p.m. for 7 minutes. That was the phone call lasted. Then at 10:22, she had a phone call that was a 2-minute phone call, outgoing phone call. And again, on July 25th, she fails to show up for her mom's birthday, and her mom calls. Now, what happened was she was living in Manhattan at the time, and she actually, the phone call that she got was in the Manhattan area, right where Rex Human works.
And you said it was about 2 minutes?
Yeah, so it's presumed that she was going to meet him,
Yep.
for a job and whatnot. They were going to meet up. And then she was never seen again, unfortunately. And
how old was she?
So she, Jessica Taylor, I don't know if I have her, that information on me. I have to look in the affidavit and see.
She was young. She was
Yeah,
like
she
about
was
20.
definitely young, yes. But yeah, so I have, and I'm posted this on my site, on my True Crime Obsession, so anybody can read it. And but then we have, the victim of,
Sandra, right?
yeah, Sandra. So I'm just going through my notes here. I apologize. So Sandra, her birthday was August 25th, 1965. She was a native. She was native to Trinidad, Tobago, but she was living in New York at the time. And the way that her body was found, so she was found in Southampton. She was found, I want to say, up near North Sea. And 2 individuals were hunting, and they were near 50 Old Fish Cove Road, and they discovered the remains of Sandra Castilla. So she was lying on her back. Her arms were outstretched over her head. Uncovered legs were spread apart. Sandra's shirt was pulled up over her head, and her breasts were exposed. She had numerous sharp force injuries to her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and vaginal area. So, and 3 hairs were recovered from Sandra, 2 male hairs and 1 female hair. 1 hair was recovered from her right arm. 1 hair was recovered from the striped shirt that was pulled over her head, and 1 hair was recovered from the white shirt that was also pulled over her head. In 2014, those hairs were sent to an outside forensic lab. DNA hairs were compared to the DNA of John Bittroff because it was believed at the time that John Bittroff, he was in the news, and it was believed that he may have been tied to that murder. But once they tested those hairs in 2014, he was eliminated as a suspect. So they retested those hairs on February 29th, and mitochondrial DNA matched to Rex Human matched those hairs. So 99.96% of the population of the Northeast was eliminated as, so those hairs obviously belong to Rex Human.
Wait, so Bittroff was first a match back in the day?
He wasn't a match
It wasn't
at all.
a match.
But the thing was, they didn't have Bittroff's DNA until they caught him.
Yeah.
So think about that, okay? He wasn't even now, think about this. Sandra went missing in 1993. We're talking over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? So Rex Human,
That
those
even
hairs
dates
were
back.
tied to him. It dates back to 1993. That's how long Rex Human has been out there.
So what do you think? Do you think Bittroff could be innocent with other stuff?
I don't know if he could be innocent with other stuff, and that today's bail application doesn't really go much into Bittroff. Okay, but it does go into Rex Human and how,
But they take him off of the thing
they
for
took
Barry
Bittroff-
Mack, right?
Yeah. Well, they didn't get into that. The only information I have is that Bittroff was not tied to Sandra.
Okay.
That Bittroff is not a suspect in Sandra's murder. Rex Human is.
Okay.
And Rex Human is being charged with Sandra's murder.
Okay.
So, at the time, what was Rex Human doing at the time? So he was living at the address that he currently lived at, where he was arrested on July 13th last year. He was living with his mother, and he was living with a female companion. Now, the identity of the female companion was not given in this bail application.
So it wasn't his ex-wife.
No, he hadn't met his ex-wife at that point. I guess his current
first one.
wife, his ex-wife, yeah. So, Asa. No, he didn't meet her yet.
No, the one before that.
Oh, he may have been divorced then, I guess. Oh, maybe it's her. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is it was a female,
Okay.
okay? And she became a witness in all of this investigation. She wasn't named, so I don't know who the female is. But I know that the hair that was found on Sandra's body did come from her. Now, Sandra was found in November. I believe it was November 20th, 1993. And when the two hunters found her body, obviously they called the cops. The cops did an investigation. 3 hairs were recovered from her body, 2 belonging to men, 1 belonging to the female. The female is the person that was living with Rex Heuermann at the time. Now, she was going out with with Rex Heuermann from 1991 to 1993, but his mother moved out of the house first, and then she moved out of the house in September of 1993. So the hairs and her body wasn't found. Sandra's body was not found until November. But the hair that was on that body, the female hair, belonged to that woman. So it could have very well been his first wife.
Yeah.
She's not named in the document. So I don't want to make assumptions as to who that person was. It probably most likely, I'd have to look at Rex Heuermann's marital status and his record and whether or not it was his first wife. It could very well be her.
I think he was married in like 90.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure how long his first marriage lasted. I know she was from New Jersey, and off the top of my head, I can't recall her name. So it could very well have been her.
Yeah. So when you were talking about where they found her, in comparison to where Gilgo and Manorville is,
oh yeah, let's talk about that. So
it's a great distance.
yeah, well, hold on. Let's talk about that because we're going to get into the manifesto. So I apologize. I should have mentioned that. When they found Jessica Taylor, her arms were cut off below the elbow. Okay. When they found Sandra, I believe that Sandra's, I don't know if I have it here. I believe that she was lying on her back. Her arms were outstretched overhead, uncovered legs spread apart. I think that
She was intact?
Yeah, but I believe that body parts, maybe her feet, were found elsewhere. Now, I know for Jessica Taylor that her limbs were found, and I believe some of Sandra's limbs were found along Ocean Parkway on the same side as the Gilgo Beach 4.
Not too far, right?
Less than a mile away. Now, when I get into the manifesto, there's a pattern to the way Rex killed, okay? He had a whole manifesto on how to choose his victims, how to kill his victims, how to cover up. So, and one of the things in his manifesto was to chop off the head, chop off the arms, chop off the feet, and dispose of them elsewhere. So it makes it harder for people to catch him.
So this is crazy because now these bodies these 2 women that he got tied to today, they were disposed of this way, but the
they
other
were disposed
4,
in one location,
Yeah.
yes. And their limbs were disposed of in Gilgo Beach.
But it's a totally different MO from like the other 4,
Yes, it is.
right?
Yes, it is. And I think part of that, those were his earliest killings, and he changed the way that he killed. Yes, it's a very good point. Later on with the Gilgo Beach War.
So it could be like back in there, that could be like in the first 10 years of him doing it or whatever he started, he could have had more victims that he did that way. So
yeah, we don't know.
I
don't know. I mean, I think there's so much more to come.
Sure.
I really do. So she had
frightening.
Very, very. It was. I can't even describe what it was like being in court today, listening to this, and they just gave us just the broad strokes of this bail application. But when you go through it, and I read through it today. I mean, it took me hours to read this, because I really went through it and took notes on it and really studied it. I mean, it was hard to stomach. It was very, oh my God.
How did he look?
He,
The same? Like
he's
the
6
emotionalist?
foot. He's a 6 foot 6 inches tall and about as wide. He looks like a big oaf. But I swear, But sadly, like, you look at him, he's in his, suit, he's all cleaned up. But think about that. That's not the last image that those victims saw.
No.
This is a guy who has two, maybe multiple sides to him. The Rex you see in court is not the Rex that his victims saw. And think about it. This was also in the manifesto that he likes petite women for a reason, so that he can overpower them.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, he's 6'6".
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot.
Yeah.
And I'm a big guy, but this dude's already 6 inches taller than me,
Yeah.
and he looks, like
Yes.
like Shrek, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so the mitochondrial DNA, a lot of the stuff was tested this year because, think about it, they didn't identify Rex. I mean, the police may have identified him, in 2022, but it didn't come to pass that he was arrested until 2023. And once he was arrested, all these hairs that they had in evidence that were tested by the Suffolk County Crime Lab were retested by outside laboratories. And then, now that they had Rex's DNA, they were able to match these hairs to Rex. And I think there's a lot more to come. So, for instance, looking at Sandra, on March 29, 2024, the female hair matched the female living with Rex Human. On April 29th of this year, 2024, the male hair found on Sandra was matched to Rex Human. So, so you had two different outside laboratories matching these hairs. So you had 3 hairs, 2 hairs from Sandra, 1 hair from Jessica that were matched to Rex Human and his female companion. So, and I want to get into the manifesto.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the electronic devices. So the manifesto was found on probably one of his electronic devices, but think about this for a minute. Let this kind of simmer with you for a minute. In today's press conference, Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney went into all the electronic devices, and he made a list of it. You're talking about laptops, you're talking about cell phones, burner phones, SIM cards, all sorts of electronic devices. He went into everything, but there were over 350 devices that were seized from the human home. And the information found on there was pretty disturbing. There was a significant collection of violent videos that included bondage, torture, pornography, dating back to 1994. Okay? You had pornographic images of breast mutilation. Okay? There was breast mutilation involved with Sandra. There was a mutilation of a tattoo on Jessica Taylor's body, on her torso. He mutilated that image so that she could be, not as easily identifiable.
And that's part of his manifesto,
Oh,
too,
yes,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Vaginal torture, sex substitution. That means, obviously, pornography, penetration with an object. Sexualization of decapitated women. Whipping. I mean, this is what this guy was into. Sick. Absolutely sickening. So he created basically a blueprint, a planning document, and utilized this document to plan out his killings. He had a 4-category system. Okay, so if you go through this and you can take a look at it, I believe it's on. Let me take a look.
I'm not trying to make light of it, but fuck, man,
I
it just
know.
makes
Well,
me feel normal.
Sometimes it's so sickening that you have to try to find the lighter side of this, because it's just disgusting what he absolutely and the sad part is that a lot of it, the way that he did this was by studying. Okay, and when I say studying, I'm talking about he read books from John Douglas. Okay. For anyone that doesn't know who John Douglas is, he was an FBI agent. He started the Criminal Behavioral Science Unit in the FBI. Now, you want to talk about irony. I mean, I'm sitting here. I just met John Douglas at CrimeCon 2024 in Nashville over the weekend, okay? It was such an honor to meet this man. He's done so much as far as criminal psychology and profiling. And now...
Is that based on, the show Mindhunter?
Well, yes. So he wrote this book, Mindhunter, okay? And I was so honored to meet him. He gave me a coin, and, it was just... He signed my book and everything. I mean, the man is an absolute genius when it comes to criminal profiling. I consider him a true pioneer. Now, the book that Rex Human read, he did read Mindhunter, but the book that they found in his house was called The Cases That Haunt Us. So I'll just hold up a picture of it. It's right here. So if you guys can see the cases that haunt us. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't happen to have that book, unfortunately, and I'm sure, you know what? There's so many sick people out there. You want to talk about irony? People are going to go out now and buy this freaking book.
Of course they are.
They're going to go out and buy Mindhunter because now they want to get their hands on it and be like, I want to read the book that Rex Human bought because apparently he used that to plan his manifesto.
That book that they're showing, that Cases That Haunt Us, it
Yeah.
it looks like one of those, like you find like with a People magazine or something.
Yes, I know.
You know?
Yeah. I happen to have two excellent books, The Killer Across the Table by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker, and then also same authors, John Douglas and Mark Olshaker, Mindhunter, which is just, I can't say enough about those books. Just absolutely amazing. As a criminal investigator, these are the books you want to read.
I guarantee you that book is going to be like a
Yeah.
not a bestseller.
Apparently, if you
but-
want to get away with crimes, this is the book that you also want to read. So, I don't know. So, he had a 4-category system, and it was broken into problems, supplies. He had DS, which stood for dump sites, and then TRG, which is targets or victims. Okay? And he broke it down in this manifesto. He broke down what the problems are, the supplies he used, dump sites, and targets. So I'll just give you an example of some of the things that were included in the manifesto. Some of the problems that he listed were DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints, plastic bags. He mentioned cat litter. Witnesses, trace evidence, trace source of supplies, foot, shoe prints, photos. Okay. What else did he have here? Misleading evidence. A police stop. If his truck gets stuck. Fingerprints left in the gloves. The plastic bags matched to boxes, hairs, and fibers. These were all listed as problems. I mean, he actually created this manual for himself. Supplies, booties, lye, acid, police scanner, rope, cord, saw, cutting tools, hair nets, photo film, burn can, foam drain cleaner, body wash and wipes, tarps, drop, change of clothes, medical gloves, bag, tape, electric clips, and ratcheted cargo strap. Okay, and a lot of these items were found in his house as well. So, when he gets into the dump site, he talks about Ocean Parkway. He talks about Mill Road. So he calls them dumpster sites, which are typically dump sites because none of the victims, to my knowledge, were found dumpsters.
Yeah.
Next, he wrote, next time, reconsider dumpster sites. And for targets, he wrote, small is good. Meaning that, and if you look at his victims and what they all shared in common, yes, they were all very petite. So,
What's the thing, Megan, with a question mark?
I know. I was looking at that. What page are you on?
I'm
You're
on 22.
Okay. Yeah. That could have been, Megan Waterman. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at this stuff and
And now HK, what is that?
I know. Yeah.
Do you think he's going by like a...
I don't know. HK is HK is the document number. If you look at the top left corner, that was just the document
HK,
number.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a...
Yeah, no.
a thing
So,
that
yeah.
he was going by.
Yeah, but...
Human King.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God. Now, the other thing that he had that was very disturbing was he had pre-prep, prep, and post-event, okay? And just to get a little bit into this manifesto, so under his pre-prep, he had vehicle inspection. He had engaged T1, which is, I'm not quite sure what that is. Then he had recon...
Trial one, maybe?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. Reconsider dump site 1, okay? Locate dump site 2, so obviously...
Backup plan?
Yeah, so he had multiple dump sites. Wow. Look at weather reports. Reconsider video cams. Reconsider pick zone for video cams. And, I mean, talk about doing your research. This guy, not only, he looked at the video cams on the LIE and the Southern State Parkway, and he found where the video cams start at Route 112 and then end in 110 where
Because
a
they
lot
show
of the video
like the
cams.
traffic cams.
Yeah, and also in the Southern State Parkway. For the prep, the setup stage, the holding area, the building a table, the crossbar, and the hard point. Now, this comes into play when they went back into his house.
In the basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically and today Ray Tierney in his press conference really got into the details about this. So he created a murder table. Okay, the crossbar goes under the table to support it because in case it's too heavy, you want to make sure that the table doesn't fall. Okay, he had some other stuff in there, and I want to just get into that. It was about. Let me just take a look and see if I can find it here. Push pins. So today, Ray Tierney Ray Tierney talked about push pins. Because of those push pins, okay, law enforcement officers went back into the house, okay, to search the ceiling and the paneling, okay. They determined that in the basement, he established an area where push pins were in the drop ceiling because apparently it says that he wanted to have his victims hanging. So, there was some kind of thing where he was using tape, I guess, and it wasn't working. It wasn't stable enough, so he had to go to like some kind of push pins or something. So
Wow.
The paneling proved to have the adhesives that they had confiscated when they did the first search of the house. So he had a separate area in the basement with wood paneling where he would keep his victims. Now, here's another thing to consider. So his family was away when he killed Jessica Taylor. He was living alone at the time with Sandra. When he killed Sandra Castillo. So it is believed that he may have kept these victims alive for a while down in his basement.
Wow.
And
Tortured them.
yeah, and he has something here, okay? And this I found so disturbing, okay? He wrote down in his manifesto, more sleep and more rest equals more playtime. Okay?
That's sick.
Yes. Let that sink in for a minute, okay? So he actually, things to remember. Sound travels, okay? Control the amount of air in and out to control the noise made. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems. Hit harder, too many hits to take down. Consider a hit to the face or neck next time for takedown. More sleep and noise control equals more playtime. Use push pins to hang drop cloths from the ceiling, not tape. And that's why they went into his house a couple weeks ago to see if there were push pins, and they found the evidence.
So there could be DNA under those pins.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, I know that they wanted to connect what was in the manifesto to what they found in the house. And they found what they needed. Use heavy rope for neck. Light rope broke under the stress of being tightened. So think about that.
So he failed at some things that he felt like he needed to upgrade or whatever.
Obviously, he was hanging some of these women from the ceiling. I mean, it's sick. Yeah. It's just absolutely sickening to think about what he did to these poor women. So, take down, pick up, hunt too long, seen an area too long. So take down means he's being taken down or being picked up by law enforcement. So he doesn't want to hunt too long in one area. He doesn't want to be seen in an area for too long. Remember, don't charge gas. I mean, oh my God. I look at like Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy was caught in Colorado for the murder of Karen Campbell because they could tie his credit card bills to some gas stations that were near the Aspen, Colorado resort where she last disappeared or was last seen,
What's his name? Shulman got busted because of a charge for that sleeping bag that they found the body in.
Yeah.
Because of Sears.
Yeah. I mean,
this boy did his homework.
Yeah. Reconsider for video cams and pickup area next time. And in the affidavit here that they have, the bail application, they have certain things in red, like next time, next time, next time. So there's a lot that they're really focusing on. But it's things like this scare me. I mean, okay. So here's this bail application. I have a copy of it now. You have a copy of it. But you wonder, like, whose hands is this going to go into?
To next person to inspire.
What kind of sick individual is out there that's going to look at this and be like, hey, I want to be like Rex Human. Let me
Right.
read Mindhunter. Hey, let me look at his manifesto. Maybe I can get some good ideas.
Sure.
Like, that to me just is sickening. So, we have a phone call? Mm-hmm. All right.
And I have a copy of
Okay.
it. And you have a copy
Hello?
of it. But
Hi.
you wonder, like, whose hands is this going to go into?
Hello?
Oh, let me see.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi?
Is this the My True Crime Obsession?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Hi, it's Raul.
Hi, Raul. How are you? Raul was here. May I say, Raul, that I met you today at the courthouse?
Yeah.
Yes.
you
So,
can.
so Raul's been a guest on my show. Raul has Catch List. I think you're familiar with it. Raul is, I can't say enough about you, Raul. Raul has a map of the United States of every missing and also people that are murdered. Yes, Raul?
Yes.
Yes. And it's tied to Name Us. So when you click on the name, you can find out all this information, the year that they went missing, date of birth, and date of death, Raul. Am I correct?
Yeah, I try to encapsulate everything that's on their name as database page.
Yes.
I also cross-reference other databases like Charlie Project or
Yes.
the Doe Network or any other extraneous research that I find out, that I'll investigate and look into, and I'll incorporate that into that same spot on that person's location.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, the work that you do is absolutely amazing. And when I was at CrimeCon this weekend, I went up to the booth that they have like Podcasters Row, and they have all these booths and people that are doing investigations and crimes. And Orthram is a DNA company. They do DNA genealogy, and I was touting you to them because they are incredible. And I think that they've actually done a lot of the DNA work on this case. So,
They have,
yes.
and I harass David all the time,
Yes.
either on Twitter or Facebook. I'm always reaching out saying, hire me.
Kristen and David Middleman. They run
Yeah.
Orthram, and they are
Yep.
amazing. You should look into it, Nick. And you should look into his map, Catch List. I mean,
Oh, yeah, definitely love to look at
yeah,
that.
yeah. If you go on
Wow.
Facebook and you go to Catch List and you go to Raul's page, I'll give you the information.
Yeah,
But thank you so much for calling in. Is there anything that you wanted to add, Raul, or did I
No,
get
I
something incorrect? Because I rely on you to get the facts right. So
So many people do that now, but
Yes.
in a way, I'm glad to have that burden because, facts do matter,
Mm-hmm.
and, it's important for the victim first to have the facts about their life and what happened to them, spoken. And it's important for the families that their loved one is represented accurately. You haven't done anything wrong.
Okay.
I'm calling because, you're a friend of mine and I do want to support you. And I've turned down a lot of requests today, and yours I didn't because I just want to be able to support you and,
That's cool.
and,
Yes.
and help you share what you
Yes.
do. And
thank you.
yeah.
And it was great seeing you today at the courthouse. And you know what?
Yes.
You essentially are the face of the victims, because I know you keep in close contact with a lot of the victims' families. And so I
Yes,
think
I
it's
do.
so important for you to be there and be a presence to the media.
Yeah, it's funny because I wasn't planning on going today because I'm much more effective at my laptop with a strong Wi-Fi, and that county courthouse has just atrocious Wi-Fi.
Yes.
But I figured I'm much more effective, and I can manage, the narratives and the nonsense and the trolls. But I got calls from two family members, and they told me that I belonged there with them, and that meant probably more to me. I think I'm not done crying today,
Yeah,
but I don't think I'm going to cry now. But
I know.
that meant so much to me that
Mm-hmm.
the work that I've done and the truth that I've told and the advocacy that I try to portray, mattered to them, and I will do anything for any of them. I adore them. I care so much about them, and I don't speak to all of them. I speak to most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I speak to some more than others, and that's fine because the relationship is on their command, on their demand, on their need, and that's fine for me. I'm just honored to have that, and that means so much. So to stand next to, today I met up with Bear and drove in with Bear.
Yes, and if I may interject for a minute, if anybody is unaware who Bear is, Bear Bro on Facebook, but he was Amber Lynn Costello's roommate, and he was the one that reported Amber Lynn missing. He was the one that saw Rex Human the day that Amber Lynn went missing and reported to the police not only Rex's description, but also the description of his truck. And it infuriates me in a lot of ways that the cops sat on that, because it's, that was 2010. And now here we are, 2024, and finally we have Rex Human, in captive and caught. But this should have happened so much sooner. It's just so infuriating. I don't know if you feel the same way, Raul. I just, I think about that, and it bothers me.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at the attributed list victims, Amber's technically, the last that's known. But we don't know what else he might have been doing between that and his arrest. Yes. And there are certainly other cases out there. There's certainly other murdered women out there that fit, the physical characteristics that fit timelines. I'm still working on correlating family vacations where he's alone and missing women or murdered women. Mm-hmm. So like that the map has, between the map and the timeline, it's important work, but that stuff is meant for people smarter than me to use. Like, I use it because I created it, so I understand how to manipulate it. But to know that other people, meaning law enforcement, looks at that every once in a while, or they'll reference that,
more than once in a while. Yeah.
It must feel good that they are.
Yeah. Just getting back to the victims, I want to say, that's what it's about. It was very sombering for me today, seeing Jessica Taylor's relatives walking down the hallway towards the courtroom, and seeing Sandra's, relatives. I just pray. I know that they're not going to have closure. They'll never have closure because they don't have their loved one with them, and but to go all these years without answers, and today they finally got the answers they deserved, and I hope they got the justice that they deserve, knowing that the person who is responsible for their loved one's death is now incarcerated, and hopefully will stay incarcerated for the duration of his life.
Yeah, he's never getting out.
Yeah. So,
there's no way. The evidence
he'll get his day in court, but, yes, the evidence is so overwhelming.
The evidence is so overwhelming.
Yes.
And, it's not tampering with the jury pool or tarnishing the jury pool. That information is public. It's what the law demands. So, to have the superseding bail document out there is what it is.
Yes.
That's the public's right to know what someone is being charged with.
Yes.
And it's not an invasion of a purported defendant's civil rights. This is what he's being charged with. He's getting his right in court. He gets to stand in front of the public and, do whatever he needs to do to defend himself. That's fine. But it's not damning. I think there are characters out there that will love to, create more and more conspiracy theories about things for whatever ulterior motive they may have, but the science is irrefutable. The facts are indisputable, and no matter what anybody attempts to do to spin it or to embellish it or create, side stories that cast any doubt, the science leaves no doubt.
Yes.
And the science will determine it. And honestly, if you look at the jury pool, even in Suffolk County, for the most part, you're not going to find jurors that don't know about this case unless they're 21 years old.
discussing this the other day. Like, I mean, I'm wondering if there's going to be a change of venue when it does finally go to court. To
Where's
trial.
it going to go?
I'm thinking, I mean, maybe Westchester. I don't know. I mean, where would you find 12 jurors that have not heard one single thing about Lisk?
It's not that you haven't heard it. It's that despite what you've heard, are you able to base a decision of guilt or innocence based on the information and the evidence presented? That's all you have to do.
And I agree with you, but if I were the defense, I'm sure the defense is going to look for a change of venue. I would know.
This case is getting worldwide attention already.
I know.
There's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, especially if he's killed in other states.
Yeah.
So.
And if he takes it to another venue, be careful because you might find a venue in another state that has a death penalty.
Yeah.
Because that may happen. And
yes.
Then your client is done for.
I would think it would be somewhere in New York. But,
no,
it would.
It would. But it's nowhere in New York. Everybody knows about it.
I know.
You go upstate New York, and you're going to have the layering of the Shannon Gilbert circle, where people have an awareness of that.
Yes, yes.
These communities, these counties keep a record of their own.
Yeah.
And even if they did get a jury pool out there, they're going to be inundated with the news of the world anyway. And this is a major serial killer case.
Yes.
It's garnering insane attention.
I know.
And it's not going to end. And just the fact that I didn't think that there was a huge media presence physically there, but those go out to distributors.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, my phone, I don't know about you, but my phone was blowing up today. I just, I was taking calls from people and just comments and everything else and trying to keep up with social media and just, but I'm sure you were bombarded today as well.
Actually, it was because that service in that building is so horrendous. I had very little service, and my phone, for the first time, and I don't know how long, was quiet. And there was a certain sort of peace in that, and it was awkward for me.
Yes.
But once we drove out of the parking lot and started driving down a little bit, then my phone just went into like drum roll status with the notification.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Bear's like, what the hell, man? This is my life. This is literally my life.
I know. It's very time consuming, but when you think about the reason why we do it, it's about the victims.
And that's what it is. That's why. I mean, I make the time to focus on the things that I do. I make the time, and like you do, and making sure that the right information is out there and it's ethical. That's all that it is. And, for me, that advocacy, which started with these 10, 11 victims, has expanded to so many more things. And I came in and you were reading the bail document. To be honest with you, I skimmed it. I have not sat down and read line for line because when I did start, I got it when it first was released. I was on the line, just about to go into the courtroom, and I had a complete breakdown. Like, I could not handle what I was reading. It was devastating.
It was very disturbing. I mean, there was just so much, Raoul, that was so disturbing, the details. But I think the most ironic thing for me, having just gone and got back from CrimeCon, having just met John Douglas, to read in this manifesto and then to actually, hear Ray Tierney today talk about John Douglas, the FBI agent who started the Criminal Behavioral Science Unit. I just met this man last Friday night. I sat in on one of his presentations in Nashville at CrimeCon. And, I've read the book Mindhunter, but I decided on the plane I had some time, let me reread the book. And, one of the things that stands out is the organized killer versus the unorganized killer. And Rex actually gets into his manifesto, and how detail-oriented and organized he was, and how he was able to evade the police for so long. It just, like, oh, my God. And to think
it's
that
it's very, very revealing what people like Rex are looking at when they're doing what they do.
Yeah.
Like, they have a self-awareness of who they are. Mm-hmm. I think in one part of the bail document, he actually is referencing himself in a search as a serial killer. So he's acknowledging he's a serial murderer.
Yeah.
So there's self-awareness to that. The searching of Bitroff contemporaneously during that time is aware of it. To look at anything with John Douglas, read any of the books, Mindhunter, what have you, shows that he's articulating a process and evolving that process. And that is terrifying. It's literally not even the stuff of nightmares. It is the essence. It is the absolute essence of nightmares. But he had an awareness of it. And he had an awareness of other contemporary serial killers. Shillman, that was mentioned a little while ago.
Yes.
Rifkin. I can assure you many others. I probably would bet now that he had a full awareness of Richard Cottingham.
Yes.
Because a lot of the similarities there, like Cottingham is the prefabricated precursor to what Lisk is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of similarities in those behaviors. And I think the one thing Rex, if he learned anything from anybody, or this just spontaneously or organically developed within him, is that not necessarily tied to an MO.
Yeah.
That MO is not concrete. And in fact, a signature isn't necessarily necessary.
Yes.
That's the funny thing. And when and I say this a lot, when logical, sane people try to establish parameters around the mind of a serial killer, you're already far behind the game.
I agree.
They don't exist in the rules of logic that we do. They create their own. They don't see things as the way we do. So their justification for things is fundamentally different. It's flawed and fundamentally different. So for him to reference John Douglas as the end all of everything, or to give him insight on how he can remain undetected, is curious, because if you look at it and think that he's so smart to be investigating all of this, how careless is he still?
Yes.
Still, to hold on to all of these devices. Hold on to and not literally destroy and shatter into 1,000 pieces. Hard drives or discs of any type.
Yeah.
It's the greed, it's the power, it's that compulsion to.
It's the narcissism. Yep.
The narcissism. To live
Absolutely.
it, to possess it, and that's his undoing.
Yeah.
Those his little trophies.
Yep. Well, it's
that
funny.
does become his trophy.
Yeah,
it may not be something physical from a victim. It may be that memory of something that triggers that memory to
reliving it. Yeah. I actually reached out to John Douglas today, and because I said, hey, I just thought you might want to know that you were mentioned in today's press conference with Rex Human by, he's like, he got back to me and he thanked me. He's like, it's no surprise that he reads books like mine. And, he had, John Douglas had mentioned, about the Idaho killer, mass killer, Kohlberger, and how he took classes from Catherine Ramsland. And Catherine Ramsland is an instructor of criminal investigations, and I actually met her. She was also a crime con, but you look at these new killers today, and how they're using the media and how they're using things to be smarter killers. It's pretty scary. It's a scary.
I mean,
world
it's
we're
not the
living in.
same thing, but look at all these people that go on like spree shootings and stuff where they learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
They learn it either in the service or they get taught by some specialist or something, and it's crazy.
Well, you in a way, it's sort of an evolution of what traditional serial killers were and how they're evolving or devolving, probably is a better phrase.
Yes.
Into these mass shooters or these spree killers, because they're a lot younger now, for the most part. They're not what we see now. Like I hate saying a successful serial killer, but a long-term undetected serial killer has adapted and
it's got to be
uses
one of the
other
longest
criteria.
unsolved ones, right?
Yeah, Oh yeah, and I think as far as Rex, I think with him being in jail and the one person he responds to is the happy face killer, really is indicative that Rex had an interest in serial killing and serial killers. So I think that was very, very revealing for me that that he responded to Jesperson.
Yes.
Because it just showed a sort of a kinship.
I was going to say, he takes pride in his work. I hate phrasing it that way, but a lot of these killers do, and they have this, like you nailed it, a kinship that they can relate to one another.
Wasn't one of the first things he asked? Was this on the news today? Like when he was arrested?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Nothing about his wife. Nothing about his kids.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so sad too, like you reading this stuff and they're saying in like this document about how his kid was in kindergarten. It just thought about me. I thought like not put me in his shoes or whatever, but I'm thinking about my kid in kindergarten and like this dude is out killing somebody while his daughter's in kindergarten and setting up like a vacation with her friends and everything.
Yes.
And he's going to stay, you know what, you guys go. I'm going to stay home because I got work to do.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing.
Oh, that was his work, yeah.
It's sick.
It is sick. It's frightening. And, I'm not going to get into a whole family thing or Asa thing, but,
that
there's
is an
a lot
interesting
going on in that
aspect.
house. There's a
I'm
lot
sure
going
there
on
is.
in that house.
Absolutely.
And where is the awareness?
Exactly. That's what I've been questioning. I don't want to point the finger at her just yet, but when you come back to your house, your house. I wonder if she even was allowed in the basement, to be honest with you.
Who knows? We just don't know. Richard Cottingham had a locked room in his basement where no one was ever allowed in it. And that's where he kept all his trophies, all his pornography, all his guns.
How could you? I don't know.
Me and Tony were talking about this before on my show about living with a narcissist. Like you live with a narcissist, and when a narcissist goes out and does their own thing, it's kind of like, all right, great. Rex isn't home. He's not in my shit. He's fucking with somebody else. Let him do what he has to do because I don't give a shit because now I'm like, he's out of my hair. Yeah. So he could have had that, and he could have had a strong hold on these people that he lived with. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
no, true. And I no longer extend much empathy for her just based on her behavior, and that's my own personal choice.
I'm with you on that
defending
one,
her. But,
like when she was like kind of like in the beginning, like screaming at reporters and everything. She was like putting on a show that they wanted to see.
Yeah, but
I could see her being upset at that. Yeah. It's like her world literally just exploded, and suddenly there's thousands of people outside.
Yeah,
I just think that if she is a victim of her husband from emotional or even physical abuse, which is likely, she could be in her own form of Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
Where
it
helps to protect her. You sort of compartmentalize it, So, that's a possibility, which could be why she's struggling to articulate empathy for the families. I can see all of that. I don't
see both
like
sides of it. I certainly, she did not ask to be thrust into this. She didn't ask for all this media attention. But yet, at the same time, we have to look at the fact that she also has hooked up with, I believe it's Peacock Channel.
I think that's what's disgusting.
Right?
Yeah. So to do a documentary on everything that's going on.
But if she's like in cahoots with it, then she don't get shit. Right?
But here's the thing. Well, that has yet to be proven. But I look at BTK, and I met BTK's daughter at CrimeCon, and Kerry Rawson. The wife is never even mentioned. She's gone into total seclusion, total hiding. You'll never find her. Okay, and after
that's the thing.
Yeah,
I know Kerry very, very well.
Yeah,
and Kerry in the beginning helped me to understand how Asa is a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of Kerry that I did support empathy for Asa. Now, I adore Carrie. I'll always love Carrie.
Yes, she's
We
wonderful.
don't necessarily see eye to eye on it because Ace is a victim and she's entitled to react any way she wants. Well, okay, yeah, that's factually true, but, you know, your mom was a victim and she divorced your father and she never visited him in prison. She never spoke to him ever again.
That's right.
And that was it, you know, but Ace is not doing that.
Exactly.
And it's not fair, and I'll say it, it's not fair to equate one victim with another. But having said that, it's not okay to either, you know, try to make it an equitable distinction between
it's
the
hard
kids
for me
versus the victims that lost their life.
Yeah,
There's a fundamental difference.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to. It's hard for me to sympathize with her when I see the actions and what she's doing. You know?
I've given myself
because that would
the
not be
space.
me. But then again, you know, everyone has their own way of, you know, dealing with things, as you said. But I don't know. I don't know that I would be jumping. Yeah,
I'm giving myself the space from the stress of even thinking about her.
Yeah.
To waiting to make my decision when I see this documentary thing.
Yeah.
Let that.
Yes, that's a good point. Let's see what this documentary looks like, because you know people are going to watch it.
Let's see how she's portrayed.
Yeah.
And granted, it's Peacock, so they're going to want to shine her in a light of their choosing.
Yes.
To some degree, but you know the truth will be in there. It just has to be dissected.
Yeah.
But you know her stance in this, her position in this, her status, or her perception in this for all of us will be evident when that documentary gets released, and that'll be the end all for me because once that happens, I'm pretty much done with her because.
You think she's doing it just to take care of her kids?
Granted.
If she is, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But if that's the case, if you had that much empathy to do it for your kids, then you'd have enough empathy to extend much sooner from your own mouth to the victims.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
You can two things can happen at the same time. You can still be in shock and disbelief of the husband that you married, that you loved, that you had a child with, and still extend empathy, going, oh my God, I can't imagine him doing that, but my heart and soul goes out to these victims in their face. It could have been just that one sentence in the beginning.
Exactly, and
could
you
have
haven't
stopped
heard
all of the
anything
shame.
like that from her.
Because I don't think it's a shock to her.
Yes.
No,
well,
it was 7 months later, and it came out of Macedonia. So, and that's so disingenuous coming from him anyway. So, like, it's just not believable. And, you know, I hear Kerry in the back of my brain all the time going, they don't have to. I was like, yes, you're right, they don't have to.
Yep.
But the optics look like shit. And when you know, when the daughter's walking around with an anime skeleton on her shirt, that looks like shit. When Asa goes to court wearing black roses on a blouse, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
And that's going to get somebody like me on fire.
Yes.
You know, and
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah,
you know, and I look at her actions, and it's very hard for me to be very sympathetic with her.
Yeah.
Since I have you on the phone, I do want to ask you a couple of questions, get your opinion on this, and if you want to share, you can. If you don't wish to, you know, opine, I understand. But, well, the document talked about the woman that lived with Rex Schumann during Sandra Castiglia's disappearance. Was that, I mean, Nick and I were talking about that. Do you think that was his first wife that lived with Rex?
The first one. So if you really look at it, and I spent a few minutes on it, but I will have to go back and really look at it closer. But the way I read it, the first one is his first wife. There does seem to be another woman, and I have to go back and look at that closer because I just have not.
Yeah, I don't know who that woman is.
Had the bandwidth for it today. I don't know who that other one is just yet.
Yeah,
but the first one is the wife, the first wife.
Okay, yeah.
I
So
think
the
they were
first
married
white
like in
hair is on
1990 or
his son.
something like that.
Yes, and she moved. Apparently, he was living with his mother in that house, and then the mom moved out, and then she moved out. So,
Ryan,
yes.
I think her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Ryan.
Elizabeth
Yeah.
Ryan.
There we
Yeah.
go.
My second question is, I feel like all bets are off the table now. I feel like with everything with this manifesto that this opens up a whole new can of worms. Like, I mean, we could tie this guy to God knows how many victims,
Well,
right?
Sandra, I
Yes.
mean, it's
Dates back to
charging him for
1993.
93. So you get an extra 14 years.
Yeah.
Which means there's 30 years in total where this man is out there doing what he's doing.
Exactly.
What
And
is
who
he,
knows,
60?
who knows if Sandra was his first victim,
I don't believe that she was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm strong in my beliefs that, he's been active at least as early as 1980. It could be a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd like to look at his behavior. A lot of times in looking at serial killers, they don't start out killing right away. They engage in other acts. I look at Ted Bundy, who was a
Jeffrey
peeping
Dahmer.
Tom. Jeffrey
Yeah,
Dahmer.
well, the FBI states that, the escalation
Yes, the escalation.
from abuse to torture of animals and stuff like that to homicide happens at around the ages of 24 to 29.
Uh-huh.
Which makes that in the early 80s.
Yep.
1980. So I think there's a lot to look at. So Sandra, for me, really does an awful lot because I've always been very much focused, on the 90s.
Yes.
And a lot of the 90s cold cases.
Yes.
And Sandra, for me, is a direct link to Judith Ramona Velaz, in my opinion, who I've made very well known that I believe at that time she could be one of the earliest known list victims to represent those physical characteristics of the, 5'2", hazel eyes, strawberry blonde hair, that became what the G4, Maureen, Melissa, Megan, and Amber.
Yes.
But it's also represented in Jessica and Valerie. Like, it's there.
Yes,
And
I agree.
these are these mechanisms that are important, but Sandra really does push the whole starting line. Like, the goalpost is now changed. And honestly, it's changed for, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it changes for the rank and file people. People like me that have been doing this for so long that really think that there's much more longevity to his actions. I'm not surprised by that. In fact, I feel yet again another layer of validation because, how many times do you hear, oh, well, just blame every missing murdered person on Rex across the country.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a flippant and irresponsible comment, but whatever, you're a troll.
Well, that kind of brings me to my
about
second.
Shannon Gilbert,
I don't think Shannon, but
Right?
it brings me my second question about the girls and the prostitutes in New Jersey.
The A4,
Do you think that could be possibly tied to Rex? I know that's starting to be
So-
questioned now.
Law enforcement has always been adamant, steadfast,
Yes.
that they are not related. They're not related. And I don't know why they're so sure about that. They may have evidence in Atlantic City that they may know who did it, but it's not enough to convict. So that could be the reason why they instantaneously say that. I think within 2 days of Rex's arrest, Atlantic City was saying they're not connected. Well, how do you know, for Christ's sake?
Exactly.
The guy was just arrested.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure the marks
They
of the
didn't even have his
handcuffs are still on
DNA,
his
and they're
wrist.
making those statements. Yeah.
But that's the interesting thing. So there's something there. We just don't know what it is.
Yep.
It could be anything. And that's a very, very sad and disturbing case. It's a weird and eerie case. And it's an intentional disposal site. Those are intentional, that's all intentional.
Yeah.
And there's something there. That's 4 murders. That is serial murder right there. Those 4, whoever did it, should be charged with first-degree serial murder. But what is it that we don't know?
Yeah.
Because I'd like to know that.
So, Nick, you asked about Shannon Gilbert. I personally don't think that Shannon Gilbert is tied to Rex Human.
The odds are that she's not. None of
just
the criteria.
the circumstances, the criteria.
Works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that poor girl's never gonna have her justice.
I know.
She might not ever have her justice. I'm very, very close with that family.
Yes, I know.
Sucks because like she's the one that I'm not saying it was.
Well, it was
she
her
started.
mother.
Her mother they
Her
started
mother's
like
perseverance
looking.
in getting answers was
Right.
what led to the
All these
discovery of the
discovery of the
Gilgo Beach
others.
Four,
Yeah, right.
Megan and Melissa and Maureen and Amber. God bless Shannon Gilbert's mother for having the fortitude to push and for answers, because God forbid she didn't. Who knows where
there's
we'd be
a lot
today.
of there's so much injustice with the Gilberts.
Yes.
There's so much
They're dismissed,
negative
and that bothers
narratives.
me. Yes.
Yeah,
It's a crazy story. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't end
Right.
with just her dying, and then
No.
then years later with the sister, and then it's just so.
It's all negative.
a tragic.
Yeah, it's
tragic,
yeah.
tragic
very,
dark
very
cloud.
tragic.
Yes.
Yep. And it's why I am so honored to be close with Shuri and
Yes.
to talk with her and
Yep.
and to help her, support her in anything that she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I have my own opinions on Shannon's
As
death.
I do. I do too.
I don't think, and I've shared this with Shuri. I've said this. I've said it publicly. I don't have a problem saying it. I do believe she was murdered. I don't think she's a Liz victim.
Yeah.
I do believe that she encountered people in Oak Beach, and
Yeah.
whatever happened that contributed to her death. And there just may not be evidence of murder. Doesn't mean she wasn't murdered.
Exactly. It was. I definitely
because
believe there was a lot there covered up.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. There's a lot of shit going on in Oak Beach. You know,
High profile people that
Well,
are there.
these are people who lived in seclusion on Long Island in their little community, gated community. Nobody was paying attention to them. They could do whatever they wanted. And then all of a sudden this happened, and all of a sudden the spotlight was on Oak
Right.
Beach, and that was not good. And then all the corruption came out. And all these
Right.
people who lived in that community, toxic people who lived in Oak Beach, not all of them, not the whole community, but there were a lot of people there
Most of
who
them.
just thought that they could do whatever they felt like doing because they were above the law, because they lived in Oak Beach and they were secluded, part of Long Island. And now it's not like that. A lot of those people no longer live there, have moved away. It's not, it doesn't have the reputation it once had. So,
Yeah. It's a sad comment on it, that the one person that her life was taken from her, that it's because of what Shannon went through that night, that
yeah.
Doesn't
everything else
sound
happened.
like something like it was accidental, whatever the hell happened. That phone call and
No.
everything, that's
Yeah, you can analyze that phone call for
Yeah,
hours.
so many
Forever.
people interpret it
Yeah.
in so many different ways. At the end of the day, it's
she saw something.
Yeah.
She stumbled upon
you're never
something,
gonna get the
and
answer.
then it's just
yeah.
yeah.
We have an interesting question here. Is there any theory that serial killers work together or compete with each other? I have the mindset that a lot of times that they try to
Outdo the other one.
outdo, not so much compete, but they try to outdo.
Sure.
When we look at Ted Bundy, when the Green River Killer was killing, and up in his neck of the woods, Bundy tried to help with that case, and I think a lot of times it wasn't for selfless reasons. It was because that was his dumping ground. That was his killing area.
Right.
He didn't want somebody
Yeah.
superseding him.
Right.
It's arrogance. It's
Yes.
that fucking arrogance.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, is it? Yeah. Are there precedents for it? Yes, for both of them. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's precedents for working together, but there's always one more dominant person in
Yes.
that binary relationship.
Yeah.
And they're
if they're-
pathological liars that get off on
Oh, yeah.
telling tales.
I mean, there are teams of serial killers. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
Bittaker and Norris and Bittaker, the toolbox killers.
Yeah.
Otis Toole and
yeah.
Henry Lee Lucas.
But there was
Yeah.
still one more dominant
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
figure than the
Yes.
other one. And,
Yes.
and that's what it is. It's the dominant one that entices the other one. And,
Yep.
that's Stockholm Syndrome right there to a large
Yes.
degree.
We didn't
So-
even get into that in the manifesto that, Rex Schumann learned a lot about the Stockholm Syndrome from reading a lot of these books. And
Well, he was afraid that he would be falling prey to it reverse. Like he
Yes.
thought that, like they would sit there and go, I'm this, I'm that, I
Yep.
have a family,
Yep.
I have a child, like
Sure.
whatever might have been said, and he would grow
Yes.
sympathy. So he
Yes.
was building up a resistance to any of that,
Yes.
which is really just self-awareness.
Yes.
And for me, it's all premeditated. Like
Yep.
this is what he's doing to prepare for a seamless experience, to execute his plan flawlessly without any issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think he succeeded in that for the most part, but for the larger part, he was enabled by just a lack of attention, lack of proficiency in
Yes.
law enforcement, a lack of will in law enforcement, and he was enabled by default.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But he clearly wasn't successful. If that WH belt is truly a relative of his
Yeah.
or his possession, which it has to be.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it was
WH,
wrapped around
yeah,
Maureen.
yeah.
It had to be his.
Yep.
He had to be really shitting his pants since
Oh.
2020.
Yes, when they revealed the initials on
Yeah.
that belt. Yes.
So he had to be waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, he had
And,
to
you
know.
He had to know the day was coming eventually, but when it doesn't come and the urge rises, he goes back into his plan. He could
Yes.
think that it's just another waste of time. Nobody's coming after me. They're all too stupid.
Yep.
He starts getting a self-inflated ego that I'm this good and I'm
Yes.
going to continue doing
And
it.
they get
And
comfortable,
then,
and that's where they screw up. Yeah.
that's where they get caught.
They
And
get
that's how,
too
that's what
comfortable,
happens.
When I think their first bunch of kills are usually, I want to be careful with the jargon that I use, but their first bunch of kills are very precise and well planned and thought out because they don't want to get caught, and then they get comfortable, like you say,
Yeah.
and they start
Well,
to
it was
lax a
also,
little.
he started, you could see in the document, basically it's work smarter, not harder.
Yes, yeah.
And that's just,
Yeah.
it's disgusting.
Well, I could talk all night with you, but
Me
we have to
too.
wrap
You
it up
know
at
me.
some point. But
Yep, go for it.
I want to thank you so much, Raul, for coming
Yeah,
on
thanks,
the show.
Raul. That was
calling
great.
in.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
for those of you watching, Catch Lisk, please try to follow Raul Catch Lisk on Facebook, or Raul, any other things you want to plug while I have you on the phone here?
Nah, just hit the hashtag catch list. You'll find
Okay,
me.
yeah, and the work you do is great, and thank you, and I know the victims' families really appreciate it as well. So, all right.
Danny Cahill's asking a question.
Oh, wait,
Mine-
we got another question. Oh,
Yeah,
what
Mindhunter.
yes, it's called Mindhunter. There are different covers, but you can find it on Amazon. Yeah, so Raul's still there, or did he hang it? Oh, all right.
No, I'm here.
Thank you, Raul. You know what?
thank you.
We'll keep in touch and continue
Absolutely.
fighting the good fight and the work that you're doing. Love it. So-
You're the third person that said that to me today. Thank you.
Is he on Facebook and stuff?
Raul's on Facebook. Yes.
I'll
Catch
send you.
everyone.
I'll send you a request later on, man.
Yeah. Raul
got it,
does
my
great
friend.
work.
Thank you.
So, and
Thank
law
you.
enforcement uses his map. So thank you. Thank you so much. All
Good
right. Have a
job.
great night, Raul.
Good night.
Take care. All right, so we're just going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you, Nick, for coming on the show.
Yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for my stocking stuffer.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep in touch and read through that. I wouldn't suggest reading it at night, but it's pretty gruesome.
I mean, it is 10 o'clock at night right now, Christine.
I know. But before I check out, I just want thank everyone for their support. And again, tonight, if you do anything tonight before you go to bed, I hope that you'll consider reflecting on this case and thinking about Sandra Castilla and her family, Jessica Taylor and her family. Keep their family in your thoughts and prayers because they've been through hell. And remember, it's always about the victims. All right, so this is my True Crime Obsession checking out. Everyone, thank you so much for your support. Have a great night. Take care, everyone. Bye.